This is the Queer Faith Perspective. New Florida Don't Say Gay bill moves beyond schools and could cripple LGBTQ plus nonprofits and churches. In a shocking escalation for too many and a somber expectation for too few, the Florida legislature will soon consider legislation to effectively disband measures to facilitate tolerance for LGBTQ plus employees in the workplace. In addition, the proposed law would effectively force the closure of many LGBTQ plus and progressive organizations that have led the opposition to DeSantis' administration. Gay rights organizations are slamming this proposed bill that they say would cripple their existence. Todd Delmay, executive director of the Miami-based group SAVE, said the bill would make it very difficult to continue the work SAVE has done for 30 years, promoting and defending equality for LGBTQ plus people in Florida. Delmay said his group receives little direct state funding, but he fears the bill could be used as a way to place restrictions, even on local funding. He also said other donors may overreact and start to worry whether they should stop donating to organizations that receive state funding. According to Delmay, the group will fight against the bill, including in court if it becomes law. Jamie Hinkle, interim director of Learning and Inclusion for PFLAG National, said targeting nonprofits shows a fundamental misunderstanding of economics, and Floridians should be concerned. The bill, HB 599, that's HB 599, is filed by State Representative Ryan Chamberlain. That's Ryan Chamberlain, if you need to put that in any sort of email or letter. Any nonprofit that has training and diversity could be subject to the law. Critics say that the vagueness of the law will lead to broad interpretations that could broadly affect all LGBTQ plus nonprofit organizations, including churches. This is another attack. I mean, this is just another attack on the LGBTQ plus community, whether it passes or not, and it very likely will with this legislature, and it will be signed by this governor. But even if it isn't, the fact that it is proposed is still an insult to LGBTQ plus people. It is still one more so-called leader in a position of privilege and power and influence, using that platform to demonize and dehumanize and demoralize LGBTQ plus people. And then if it actually becomes law, then actually to further marginalize LGBTQ plus people. So this is just hate. This is just othering. This is just making sure that there's always a demon to oppose, a dragon to slay, a monster to be afraid of. That is the playbook of a certain type of politician, and they're sticking with it rather than say this is a way that we can all get along, this is a way we can all prosper, this is a way we can have better environment, this is a way we can have better schools. Instead of saying what we can all do together to make everyone's life better, what they have is let's find an other and fight against them and against their right to exist. It's an old play, and it's an ugly play, but it's very much in play right now in Florida.
Yeah, and it's just what I always find hard to wrap my mind around is how un-American these moves are. It's just, from a party that claims to have its origins in the good old party, the party of Lincoln, the party that did so much for this country. They're doing everything in their power to really operate like, fascist thugs that can coming after our freedoms. And that's, I don't know how people continue to support this and why it's so important for us to vote.
Yes. It's almost like rooting for the cartoon villain.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also think it's a time to remind all of our LGBTQ organizations that we have to come together and continue to work together also. An attack on anyone is an attack on all of us. And I think this is just a wonderful reminder that if you haven't registered to vote, register to vote. If you've moved, changed address, whatever, make sure your voting records are up to date, because that's just one more thing that can be used against us when it comes time to vote. And these are the kind of people who are just, in my opinion, is looking to continue to rip not only America apart, but even our society apart. And I always have to ask a question, to what extent?
Yeah. Right.
What do they hope to gain from this? This is demonizing, this is, trying to segregate. And just remember, the same people who start all this stuff, they end up coming for you too. So, seller beware, because your goods will not hold up against everything that you're now trying to sell everybody against. So, work together, stick together, get out there and get ready to vote.
When the court stripped the Voting Rights Act, we said this isn't going to be the end.
Right.
And then when the court demolished bodily autonomy for women, we said this isn't going to be the end. So we say if we allow it to happen to any group, it will just happen to the next group and the next group. This is, if we don't say something, the first hint of it, then we're giving tacit permission for them to go over against everyone.
Yeah. The 1950s, they want their policies back, because that's what's going on right now.
Exactly.
There was a Republican congressperson who said that all of the problems that we have right now are because women have some autonomy. So this is the thought process with too many of the Republicans. And those Republicans who don't agree with it are keeping their mouths shut because of, in my opinion, one reason. There's an orange demon out there that scares the living daylights out of them, and they refuse to believe that they can do something different. We look at poll after poll where the American people say that they want something different than what our Florida legislature is doing. And our governor, who is running for president, is discovering that America does not want to look like Florida. So there's hope there. And again, just saying what each of you have said, the one thing that we can do, that we can control, is to vote, and vote all the time. Vote for your dog catcher, vote for your council person, vote for everyone, because that's the funnel that leads to Congress, Senate, President. So don't think that your vote is not important. Don't think that who you support on local levels is not important. It may be the most important thing that you do.
Yeah. Let's not overlook the last part of that. Is the attack on churches. You know, that if this goes their way, this will next be the next stop of like, okay, where does it really stop then? If you're going to attack a nonprofit organization about benefiting and helping people, then now let's go after the churches who are doing the same thing. Which church are you going to freaking go after?
The ones who were gay friendly. They've made it clear.
Affirming churches.
So,
Yeah.
And what really should, what this, I look at this bill, and when it first came out, I wrote a piece about it, and I said that what this gives us now a chance to do is to do creative resistance against these laws. So if these laws do come into pass, we can creatively, do things to resist them and get us in trouble. The best thing to do at this point is just like call them out, like utilize their own laws and policies against them, and let them come after us. Because when they come after churches, that's going to be a huge problem with going all the way up to the Supreme Court. Or at least we hope that it would be, but we don't know, because we keep seeing them strip away things that were always, this is who America is. We're finding that no, America is changing rapidly before our eyes, and people are very much sitting in the sidelines thinking this could never happen here, this could never happen here. Well, it is happening here.
It's happening.
Right here, right now.
It's going on.
Absolutely.
And this is also testing our commitment to our causes.
Right.
They did this with NPR and PBS. They would cut the funding. We're just all this educational stuff. It makes people think, and it creates tolerance and diversity. Let's get rid of it. And so they just had to be more aggressive with their fundraising. They just had to say the government's cut, 90% of what they were going to. So we need you. And they believed in what they stood for so much they just found other ways to do it. And we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to believe in ourselves so much that we just find the way, because otherwise, they're just erasing us. And you said, Pastor Earl, said something about the party of Lincoln. That is exactly what has happened, though. In the party of Lincoln was a certain sort of way, and freedoms were always economically conservative, but they were also for individual freedoms, and the party that ended slavery, mostly, more or less. But then in the 60s, the Civil Rights Act. So all the people who had been in the other party, a bunch of redneck, racist, sexist, they couldn't even consider homophobic because they didn't know that gay people existed. But they got angry at the Democratic president and Congress that passed that, and they started switching parties. These people have always been here. Just until 1967, they were Democrats. And now they're Republicans.
Right.
But they're the same people with these same backward attitudes and these same hateful agenda.
Well, Kevin said, they want the 1950s back. I think they want their 40 acres and the mule back that nobody ever got.
Hello.
That's what they really trying. It's like, let's just get real. Let's just take everything away from everybody and leave this one group of people in charge. And it's not going to happen. It can't happen.
Yeah, and I've heard from other leaders of nonprofits that are looking at these laws, but they don't want to overreact. They don't want to like put themselves out there too much. And what I think is that now is the time for us to overreact, because history will prove if we were overreacting or if we were actually sounding the alarms in the manner that we should have sounded the alarms. And that to me is like, I rather be a crazy person that's wrong than be, under an oppressive government based saying that, I should have said something. I should have overreacted.
Absolutely.
I've got a homework assignment for everyone watching. I want you to read Letter from a Birmingham Jail by Martin Luther King Jr. And then I want you to read everything ever written by Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Yes.
Next up, we are excited to tell you about our next adventure with our Global Fellowship. In 2024, we'll be going to where the hills are alive as we explore Austria and Alpine Europe for Gay Oktoberfest. Space is limited, extremely limited, so make sure to go to happeningout.travel/sunshine to reserve your space now.